special event alert.
Say bye-bye to Madge and grab your badge because you are late for Changeover, your weekly space news and variety show. I'm your host, Marty Smith, and I'm joined by our man in the closet, Jake Wall.
What's going on, man? That's a hard one to follow.
And Mr. History, Eric Perrott.
What's going on from Arizona, fellas?
And
Poolside.
we got a guest host, Master Sergeant retired Juan Lopez. Senior Master Sergeant retired Juan Lopez.
Oh, hey, you know what?
I demoted you. Damn, I demoted you. We're here to bring you the latest headlines and updates pertinent to all Guardians and to top the other lesser branches as well. So take your seats, get informed, and have a laugh as we present Late for Changeover. All right, we got to do this quick because, Eric, you probably got better internet connection there than you do in your own house.
Well, a little bit. Not bad, though. I'm on my phone, so it's not real good.
Actually, it's not bad. You're where you at? You're in Arizona?
Yeah, we're in Goodyear, Arizona. Fly back home tomorrow. Been here a week. Played a couple rounds of golf at some really nice courses. Man, just had a great week.
And where'd you play today?
Out at Luke Air Force Base. It's called Falcon Dunes, man. Great course. Very nice.
Any tee box shots with the jets going off, or what? No, any flying today?
Oh, yeah. F-35s all over the place, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we took a ride on base and checked them out close up. Pretty damn cool.
That's so different because when we're at Buckley and they're flying, the National Guard is flying up there, you know, the once every couple months or whatever, and you go, oh, they must have got money come through. They can afford fuel. But Luke being Luke, man, those guys.
That's a training base like crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were flying all morning, man. It was loud. Freedom ringing loud.
What'd you shoot?
We didn't need to go there.
Oh.
That's out of 101.
101? What happened to all the lessons and all that shit? What happened to being retired?
Apparently, I need more lessons. But I still had a great time.
You know, the standard excuse for that is that, Bear Cart wouldn't leave us alone. So,
well, my wife beat me, so I had to lower my head in shame, and she played real well today, man.
Was she playing trans man and hitting from the male tee boxes?
One box in front of us.
Which is only 10 yards, something like that.
If that, yeah, man. She was in the freaking fairway each time. She was awesome.
Well, maybe we should give her the good conduct medal.
Yeah, probably so.
Well, thanks, buddy. Continue on with your investigative report down at Luke Air Force Base. We're looking forward to the full review next week.
You got it, fellas. You guys have a good night, man.
Thanks,
we'll talk
man.
soon.
Have a good one.
All right, bye.
See you later, Eric. See, that way we don't have to do the lengthy introductions because he's going to drop. Here, I'll remove him. I'll take you out. You're out.
Lengthy introduction.
It was kind of. So, well, when was the last time you two guys saw each other?
His retirement? Oh no!
Yeah.
No, I guess so.
No.
Yeah, right? No.
I don't know, man. I thought it was after that somewhere.
But we celebrated the week before his retirement, and that's a story to tell one of these days.
That was a good time.
Well, we don't have that many stories. Hey, Juan, when you retired, what, 21?
Yes.
Did you do the Conrad Dawes and put it out on Zoom?
I did not.
Oh.
So, yeah. So no, it's just like whoever showed up. That was it. Some people reported it, but I never got a copy of it or any of that.
Well, like I said, Kevin Balcom, Teapot, is usually on here, but he's indisposed. Kevin is like the Teapot's like a major league hitter. His batting average, if we can get him up to 300, 3 out of 7 shows, or 3 out of 10 shows, it'd be like Right?
I like it.
That's a pretty good batting average. But he's down below
He's
the
got
Mendoza line
important
right now.
stuff, man.
I know we're
I'm
such
pretty
a
sure
side
he's
hustle.
like got a meat platter somewhere that's getting devoured.
You know, I sent an extra email out tonight with an extra story that probably prompted him. He's like, "Oh shit, I got to go on with those guys. I'm not going to go on with those guys."
Hey, but when I saw
good
that,
move.
like, the sales in space, I was thinking like space pirates right away. If I think space sales,
Oh,
I
yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that? Well, we didn't. When I was looking yesterday and the day before, we didn't have any space stories. So I figured, well, let me go look today. And actually, that was they launched a couple hours ago. So, the Juan Lopez, you can find his interview out on Swearing In Podcast. We just did it.
2 hours of awesomeness.
Yeah, and Jake, if you watch his interview, it starts and it's light like this, right? By the time we finished, the sun had set and he had no light except from his. Were you on your phone or you're on your computer?
Yeah.
So he's all dark, and you can
Nice.
barely see him. But it was good. It was good. I contacted Kevin Reed, so that's another senior
Nice.
NCO coming. So we're slowly but surely getting the Sibbers brethren together.
Have you tried getting Edwin Medina in?
Where Medina did I see? I saw him at a retirement, and I gave him a card, and
Maybe once Kevin gets on,
I wonder. To those who are listening, there was a period of time when I came off a crew with all these guys, and I went into scheduling, and when somebody would fall out and we need to call people on the list, I'd go through many phone calls before finally somebody answered the phone. And it's strange, that was 20 years ago, and I'm still doing the same thing with this podcast in that, hey, can you come on the podcast today? And they're like, you have reached 303. And I'm like, God damn it. It's like the same thing when I was in scheduling.
So I remember those phone calls. I remember one time you caught me on a Saturday and you gave me the guilt trip. Yeah.
No, I never guilt tripped anybody.
It was, there's but you were very sly about it. It's like, I was like, fine, I'll go in. But that's when they did the 6-ring standby, right? Remember, on the schedule, I'll say if you were kind of like on the 6th ring to be called. I do remember that. And that's
right. I pushed for that because that first 6 months or whatever, I was like, you're just calling random people? Nobody. I wouldn't answer the phone for that. So, I mean, at least 6 ring gives you sort of a heads up, but it's still a suck deal. But yeah. So I still think people, how you ever seen, when was the last time you saw somebody from like your high school class? But even if you haven't, you can think about that. You picture them in that time frame, right, in your head. And you're like, oh, that's how they're going to be when they're grown up. And you're like, no, they've gone through many iterations of themselves. But your memory is like, no, you were that 17-year-old guy who got depantsed in front of the whole auditorium. You'll always be that guy. And I think to many, I'll always be a scheduler, unfortunately.
That's right.
So
vile thing.
Jeff Howe. So I had lunch with Jeff Howe today at work.
Oh yeah.
And Jeff Howe's like, man, Marty Smith just looks like Wolverine now. You saw that beard? It's like it's just like very Wolverine looking.
It's the white. See, I'm telling you.
It's like,
it's white. Yeah. I should get a hold of Howell. Well, Howell wasn't in that long, I don't think. But that doesn't matter.
No, he's still in. He's still in. He's still in the reserve. So he's at the
holy shit, is he
really? House at Peterson. Yeah.
Oh my God. So did another interview that I put out.
Wait, Marty goes, he wasn't in that long. And then Juan goes, oh yeah, no, he's still in. He's like, oh my God, he's still in? Ah.
I thought he
judged
got
him
out
both ways.
Well, I got reactions ready. I got him in the chamber. So whichever way you hit me, I'm gonna react appropriately.
Nice.
Well, he's a big fan of your show, just so you know. He's the one that started giving me all the interviews and notes and everything about your show.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Well, shit. I only
Juan,
seen
did
him.
you prep for that?
No, I'm just.
Oh yeah.
Wow,
But
he's
I did learn a lot from watching myself. In that last the interview that he gave me, I was like, "Ooh, man,
Yeah.
Schoolhouse!" I would just give myself all kinds of.
It's
merits
hard.
and,
It's
like,
hard. I
course.
mean, when I interviewed Jake, I was doing audio only. But still, if you go back and listen to that, you know, I was so amateurish. Jake was great. He was telling great stories, but you get when you first do it, you're just like, God, I'm terrible at this. I'm so bad. It's hard to watch me, you know. But in addition to your interview, Juan, I also did another interview with an American who started as a Soviet comrade. It's fascinating, man. Yeah. He was born and raised in the Soviet Union. And they conscript in 89 he got conscripted. So they have conscription. They had conscription over there. I think they still do. For 2 years. So
still do right now.
yeah, probably do.
Yeah.
So he went in the army, went in as a paratrooper. Then he was adept, right? And then the Soviet Union fell and the Russian Federation came up, and I guess he impressed his supervisors and was like, "Hey, do you want to go to this Russian military academy that they just started?" So he said, "Yeah." So he went there, and it was like a West Point. So he goes. During his time as a cadet, he got sent to a war zone to be kind of like not an observer, but kind of like a protector. And he's of certain rear assets, and they got terrorists attack, and he had to fight there. He graduated, gets commissioned as a lieutenant in the Russian army, goes straight to his first unit that's fighting in the first Chechen war. It's like, holy shit, dude. Man. You're a fresh lieutenant, and they send you to the war zone. So he stayed there to the conclusion. Later, he got out as a captain. He had relatives in California. They put in a green card. He came out there in California. The funny part is, because he was like, okay, I'm on a green card out here. I better start learning the language and learning the culture. So he started driving a cab. And then he said, I'll take a job as on the night shift at Target to help me learn more English. And he goes, I didn't learn a thing because nobody spoke English on the night shift out in Target. But guess where his relatives lived? His relatives lived up in Carmel.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So he's like, oh, is this how America is everywhere?
America's
like,
gorgeous.
No.
No.
So 9/11 happened, and he said, I'm going to go talk to a recruiter because he felt he had friends who joined up, and he goes, I want to go back in. So he went to talk to a recruiter, and they signed him up with a green card. And at 28, he went through basic.
After
yeah, on a green card, he went to basic as an infantryman out at Fort Benning, Georgia, at 28. And he was a PFC specialist at 28, E4.
Wow.
It's like this guy was a captain in the Russian army. And anyway, I asked him, I was like, hey, you're in the Russian army. Well, when you got conscripted, the Afghanistan for Russia just ended, like a year before. And I was like, so you didn't have to go? And he goes, no, I didn't have to go to Afghanistan. Lo and behold, he comes to America. He joins up. He joins his first unit out in Hawaii, and he deploys to Afghanistan. Like,
wow.
Holy shit. It's fascinating, man. The guy's fascinating. And you can't tell because he was, I don't know if he was on his phone, but he was hunched over for most of it. But every once in a while, he would lean back. And I was like, oh, this guy's a fucking Dolph Lundgren, man. This guy's big, And he was a jump master in the Russian army. He was a jump master in the U.S. Army. Like, holy shit. And he retired as a major. He graduated. He retired as a major.
He did commission? Okay.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he got commissioned.
Yeah.
He went to OCS and got commissioned. I was like, Jesus, this guy's a badass. So interesting story. It's out on Swearing In podcast. I just put that out there. So, Fellas, before we get into the news story, I noticed this. I signed up for stripes.com. I don't know, it's $5 for a subscription or something like that, right? Otherwise, they only let you read a couple stories if you ever noticed.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's
so
why I don't do any research, Marty.
I know.
I don't want to use them up before.
That's true.
I
That's
get
a good
to the
point.
show.
It's like, you got 2 stories left. Like, God damn it.
Well, Marty's going to get pissed.
Hey, I got 5. I got
am
5.
gonna
So.
get pissed, right? So, but they send me updates in the email. And you know how I'm always like, okay, let's not be so negative. Let's try to be positive. Out of like 8 stories, these are the stories. Check this out. These are the stories that they hit me with, right? So wait, hold on. Where's my, okay. So the first couple, look, Marine based at Camp Lejeune, killed during training. You go, yeah. And then the next one was Georgia-based airman dies while deployed to Guam with the rescue squadron. Ugh, that's depressing. And it keeps going. Court-martial of Army doctor accused of 53 counts of sexual abuse. Oh, it's delayed until next year. Okay. Former Fort Liberty soldier headed to prison for romance scams totaling over $350,000. These were all in one day. Right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and there was just another Marine, NCO, I think, that also had.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah,
yeah,
he had something too. Yeah. And then policeman testifies to U.S. Navy's. We should have done this story. Maybe we'll save it until next week. But
Yeah,
policeman
that's a good one.
testifies to U.S. Navy sailors' strange behavior after beach attack in Japan. And the little tagline in there says, he slammed into a group of Japanese people in a beach town, identified himself afterward as Satan.
What do they have on them boats?
You're right. And then the last one was police say Marine with knife tried to rob a convenience store on Okinawa.
Freaking Okinawa, man.
I know.
Every time.
It drives them nuts over there.
Oh
I'm
my gosh!
so surprised that they haven't kicked us off that island for good.
So I
Like-
went to Terry Whitmer's wedding in Florida,
Yeah.
and at the Johnny Rockets, there's a Marine or former Marine, I guess now you just call them Marines because I read that on the article, right?
Right.
But he was one of the group that got kicked out of Okinawa. He's starting to tell Teapot and I the story about how he was part of the group that got kicked out. I think that was like what? That must have been over 15, 16 years ago, but that's when they made the bigger headlines. And it was just like, he's telling the stories. I'm like, it's like, now you're working at Johnny Rockets. I was like, that's what happens.
Well, 15, 16 years ago, well, and even today, every 5 to 10 years, they'll go on a rape and pillage mission and mess up some locals. And then the locals are like, okay, we are sick and tired of this.
Yeah, get them out of here.
Get them out.
And then I'm sure the provost has to come down there and talk to them, and the commanding officer. But we did how many stories? 2 or 3 that we did last year about the Marines getting drunk and just climbing up and sleeping on random people's balconies.
That was my favorite. Yeah.
I mean, the Japanese people would come out and go, "Oh, there's a drunk Marine on my balcony."
The same day, a Navy guy wakes up and he was on the 2nd floor balcony of someone he knew, like was pounding on the door of somebody he knew.
Yeah.
And he blew like a 0.1 or something.
Oh, it was
crazy
high after he
not
slept.
To be outdone. No, the Marine, not to be outdone by the Navy. The Marine, a elderly Japanese or Okinawan lady, wakes up, goes outside to water her plants at like 11, finds a Marine on the 8th story on her balcony, covered in his own everything, all his fluids. And she's like, what the hell? He blew at noon when they got him. He blew a 0.9 something.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So he was still blasted after climbing a freaking eight stories.
That
I might have to have my nephew listen to this because he's a Marine. So funny, he's left Camp Lejeune 2 months ago, and he's about to go to Japan here in the next couple months. So.
Oh no shit!
Yeah,
flip that, right? Say that you had I don't know, a place in like Panama City, Florida.
Yeah.
Right. And you bought it and you're living there and all this stuff. And you wake up and you find, I don't know, a Russian soldier drunk on your balcony. First off, you'd be scared shitless. You're like, holy shit, it's a soldier drunk on my balcony.
Again.
How many times would you have to put up with that before people go, hey, get these guys out of here, would you? Just get these guys out of here.
I think Jake just said it, like, for that area, it's like, not again.
Yeah, it is. It happens all the time. So
yeah.
Holy shit. All right.
Imagine what those 911 calls sound like.
Oh my gosh.
They probably finished the sentence. They're like, hey, I'm calling a drunk Marine. Yeah. They're like, okay, we'll be right there.
How'd you know?
Like, can you imagine if Oahu had this many problems with Marines or Navy personnel, military personnel?
Yeah.
Like every 2 years, somebody's getting raped. Every weekend, there's a bar fight. Every time, man,
when the fleet's in, you know.
Oh, well,
there is a lot of shit that happens down there, but it's contained into areas that are like a downtown, right? Yeah, there's nobody in residential areas because they real estate and all that stuff. They don't live anywhere close to that. But you know, the Hawaiians, they hate us anyway. They don't want us.
Well, probably because the Navy's fucking up their island all the time,
right? I mean, I was over there and they were doing, the Navy wanted to do these practice beach landings way up on like the northwest part of the island. And there's groups that protested, and the group was out there and they're like, no, this is sacred ground. We have ancestors buried here. And they closed the whole beach off. They wouldn't let them. But they do that every chance they get. So, okay, let's get into the news here. Right, just a couple news stories. I thought they were kind of interesting. This launch just happened today. It happened at like 4 something Mountain Time today. So this company called Rocket Lab, or this group called Rocket Lab, it launched a new NASA solar sail tech. I don't know why that's a dumb headline. They launched a new NASA solar sail toward orbit. So Rocket Lab launched a South Korean Earth observation satellite and a new NASA solar sailing tech this evening. April 23rd. The agency's Jesus, hold on. NASA's Advanced Composite Solar Sail System, or ACS-3 for short, was one of 2 payloads that lifted off atop a Rocket Lab Electron vehicle from New Zealand. So I also thought this was fascinating too, because this brings up other launch sites.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Now we're just throwing up everything from around the world, man. So solar sails harness a subtle push of sunlight. I have a video for this. I'll let them explain it. A few solar sailing missions have already flown, including Japan's Ikaros spacecraft and the Planetary Society's Light Sail 2. ACS-3 aims to develop the technology further. Rocket Lab wrote in a mission description, quote, the mission plans are to test the deployment of new composite booms that will unfurl the solar sail to measure approximately 30 feet per side, or about the size of a small apartment in total. There was another article I read about this same thing, ACS-3, and the units of measure that they use to like dumb it down for us. I'm like, this is a small apartment. Like, that doesn't really give me a sense of space. The other one used half a tennis court. I'm like, that's better. Yeah, it's not a pickleball court. Yeah, no, so I don't know. Like, fuck.
I think though that they're constantly giving us 14 elephants, right? Maybe we should just get used to, what's a 30 by 30 foot? What's that look like? Oh.
I guess, because I feel so dumb when they do that, right? And they're like, okay, 13 elephants.
Yeah, 13 elephants.
Oh, that's a lot of elephants.
What?
That's Sound like Shane Gillis.
Oh, and then it's like,
I'm
okay,
making them at night.
who's reading these articles then? Like, if they're catering to the lowest common denominator, like who's really reading these articles?
Have, if you've watched some of the videos we have, and this one I'm about to show you is not as bad, but some of them are so condescending because they got these big brain guys and they put in front of these videos, and they're like, "This flies through space like a dolphin swims in the sea," and you're just like, "Oh, thanks for explaining it that way, Mr. Billionaire Egghead."
Only with less friction. Oh. Well, you got me there. That's too complicated for me.
There's too many elephants. ACS-3's target altitude is 620 miles, so 1,000 kilometers. It'll be deployed there about 105 minutes after launch, if all goes according to plan. I didn't see that there were any destructions or anything, so I guess it did. This was Rocket Lab's 5th orbital launch of 2024, and its 47th overall. All but 4 of the company's liftoffs to date have occurred from its New Zealand site on the North Island's Mahia Peninsula. The others have lifted off from NASA's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. Didn't every once in a while when we were working missile warning, we get something out of Wallops? But it was always small, right? It was always like too small, right? But yeah, Wallops Island, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, you're right.
So here is, rather than me trying to explain the solar sail, let me do this, and we'll enjoy the solar sail video from ACS-3, or NASA. Whoops. Ooh.
A NASA mission is testing revolutionary technology to allow robotic spacecraft to sail on sunlight. The advanced composite solar
His
sail
voice
system
is so soothing.
introduces a new way to explore the cosmos. Much like a sailboat is propelled by wind, a solar sail spacecraft is pushed by light.
You know, the
from
physics
sun.
and the technology of that
Sunlight is composed
blows
of
me away.
particles called photons.
Does it constantly
As these particles
accelerate?
bounce off the reflective
I don't know.
sail, the spacecraft accelerates. This eliminates the need for rocket propellant and makes it possible for spacecraft to travel.
This is like for
indefinitely.
10-year-olds.
The
His
sail
his
is
tone of
stored
voice.
inside a
His
spacecraft
tone.
about the size of a microwave oven. Like
Microwave
carbon
oven?
fiber booms
A
unroll
microwave oven.
That technology is pretty
tubes
badass.
that support the
That is cool.
ultra-thin reflective
Yeah.
polymer sail. When fully deployed, the sail forms a square that is 33 by 33
Inflatable.
feet, or about half the size of a tennis court.
Oh, tennis court. Not a small
Altitude
apartment,
and
apparently.
position are changed by angling the sail toward or away from the sun. Results from the mission will guide the design of next-generation solar sail spacecraft to explore and conduct science across the solar system.
Science.
See, there's another one, Jake, that's like we're using science as a verb.
They're
I love
doing
it.
science.
We're sciencing.
Well,
You know the one term watching sports that has been so prevalent over the last 10 years that drives me nuts every time is when sportscasters are lazy and they use the word physicality. Oh, his physicality is just superior. It's like, that's such a lazy comment, right? Well, to science is such a lazy comment. This will make it easier to science in space.
oh,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Elephant
So,
Man.
I don't know. Like, I look at that sail, so I think it's cool.
Yeah,
but-
absolutely.
But here's the thing: is like, I don't know. It's like depending on what mission you're trying to do, how big this thing gets. Now, how
Well,
much
and these
space
are
is
just
gonna take?
just initial experiments, right? So I don't know how big they have to get it.
Now, if you could
Right.
use those sails as nets to pick up space junk and bring it back.
Well, but think of the solar sail that kind of dies, right?
Yeah.
And it just angles itself, so now it's just in orbit. Now you got an enormous net that you got to navigate around until you call the space junk guys. You know.
Yeah.
Or that some government finds them. It's like, hey, you left this thing up there that's the size of a small apartment.
people will be, I get that. I
Charge
understand
you-
what you're saying
They
now.
charge you
I mean,
100
like half a tennis court.
that too. We're going to charge you $100 million per square foot. So, because there are governments trying to start imposing fines on companies, for leaving stuff up there. I don't know how they're going to. Well, I guess it would be easy to track. And they're like, "Hey, what's that big cross section piece of junk up there? It's not ours." And it's like, "Yeah, it is. We tracked it all the way from your launch facility. We know it's yours."
Well, it's like those ticketed cars that you find on the highway, right? There's
Yeah.
a car in the highway. You just put a ticket on there, see if they pay it.
Right, and you go by a week later, and it's like, that ticket's faded. But it's still there. Somebody abandoned.
What are they gonna do? Impound it? All right, cool. Go impound my space junk.
Well, I'd like to know.
Is it starting now? So do we get all our shit grandfathered? Or
yeah, right.
Or do we have to clean up all our shit first?
I mean, any new stuff. I mean, we're good with the new stuff, but are you,
or the
you're
old
saying
stuff?
the old stuff?
Come on.
And they're like, "Hey, Russia, are you responsible?" They're like, "That was Soviets. We're not Soviets."
Yeah.
That thing up there since
CCPT,
58,
that's not me.
1958, that's not us. We only came in 1990. So
Yeah.
Niet. Russians say niet to the space junk. Okay. This was actually.
Have you asked Kazakhstan? I would ask them.
Yeah, because they launch a lot of stuff out of there.
That's true.
It's not part of us anymore, but all right, Jake actually sent me this story during the week, and it's great. But I have a video. I would love to say these are actually space guys in Barksdale, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. Oh, nice. All right. So here's the video I had before.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
This is fantastic. You guys gotta try this.
Just don't ask where the meat comes from.
Hopsley, what's that supposed to mean?
Do you see any cows around here, Detective?
¿Qué es esta carne?
Esta carne es de rata.
Rat. This is a rat burger.
Now that's an airman.
Not bad.
It was so perfect. I mean,
perfect. Perfect.
So this is from Task and Purpose. Barksdale Air Force Base closes dining facility amid reports of a rat problem. I should have made headlines. I forgot to make headlines tonight. The main dining facility on Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana, was closed indefinitely as photos circulated online of what appeared to be a swarm of rats in the facility. The closure left many airmen on the base without their usual meal option at the dining facility. Now, Juan, I have an upcoming question for you, but this was the picture that was going around on social media.
Wow.
I don't know what they're on.
It's a glue trap.
Oh, it's a glue trap. Oh, God.
So what were those two mice doing together?
Now that's three of them, man.
Oh, that's three. It's a trio.
And they're dumb as shit. And they're like, "Hey, what are you standing on?"
I like the indefinitely part.
Yeah, it gets worse.
How bad is it? You got me, man.
Hey, we got to close this. But listen to some of the doublespeak that they do. Air Force officials did not confirm that rats were a problem, but told Task and Purpose that the dining hall would be closed until a quote unquote issue was resolved. The base announced the closure on April 9th, saying that the defect would undergo, quote, unanticipated but required maintenance actions that must be addressed immediately. However, after swarms of rats were found in the Red River dining facility, according to photos and videos posted on the popular Air Force Airman NCO Senior NCO Facebook account, service members received an email about an abrupt closure. Officials for the base told Task and Purpose that its civil engineer, entomology, public health, and force support teams are, quote, working diligently to address the issue. But they won't cop to the rats. But entomology? What, a fire extinguisher go off? Is that why you need entomology there? Oh, no, you got something else going on. The email.
How bad did it have to be? Like, at IED, That freaking chow hall had rats outside by the dumpster that
Yeah.
were like
Yeah.
full
Waiting.
cat size.
Yeah, that was a source of food for
They were
them, man.
big,
Yeah, absolutely.
big rats.
That's
But
the
how
counter all
bad does this get?
I think the scary thing is that however bad it was, however good or bad it was being ignored until somebody put it on Facebook, somebody put it on social
Yeah.
media.
Yep.
Because that's how they
Facebook
react to
page-
thing now. That's how they're reacting. The
Yeah.
leadership are reacting to, oh, the airmen are really hot on this on social media. Maybe we should take a look
Have you
at
gone
it.
on that page?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
and they're brutal, and that's when. Remember when the mold was going on in all the
Right.
bases?
Yeah.
Right.
That's how I first got exposed.
That's
And
right.
I remember in 2012, I was at NCO Academy in San Antonio. My room was just full of mold. I made a comment about it. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, that it's fine. You know, they checked it. You're safe." I don't know. I'm waiting for that VA letter 20 years from now. It's like, "Hey, you were exposed to
Yeah.
mold.
You
Check
won't
your
get that
Were
VLA.
you else ever stationed at Al-Udeid or Randolph Air Force Base? Were you exposed to mold? Yeah.
Yeah, right. We're doing a class action, so come on board.
Camp Lejeune style.
Yeah, it was Camp Lejeune. It is Camp Lejeune. That's kind of the banner for all these cases that are following, right? And in fact, on a side note, I was thinking about bringing up this story, but they went out, and here they were all proud of it. This story was that I read that they went out to the missile silos or the what do they call the missile control stations? I don't know what they call them.
Yeah. the
At
missile capsules.
Vandenberg, even though Vandenberg hasn't been used
I
in a
saw
while.
that article. I know.
Did
which
you
one
see
you're
that?
talking about.
Remember we did, Jake? Remember we did the article about the missileers getting cancer because of all the stuff
Yeah.
that was coming out of the walls and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the Air Force said, "Well, we'll just go prove that. Let's go to Vandenberg, that they don't use anymore," and they
Wait,
swiped.
Vandenberg was never mentioned either.
Right, I know.
It was
No,
all
it
the
was the other
ones
bases.
in other bases
Right,
north
the
of here
Air
that were all
Force-
mentioned.
but the Air Force tested Vandenberg, and they're like, "Hey, there's only a couple swipes out of several hundred that came back with any PCBs on it, and the water was generally good because it came from the town. So they're combating it. They're combating it by going to Vandenberg.
Yeah.
They didn't go to Minot. They didn't go to Malmstrom. They didn't go to F.E. Warren.
Well, because they probably don't want to go down there anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
And
Juan,
those
you're
are
absolutely
different
right.
silos. Those
Yeah.
are different manufacturers. Those are different
Yes.
missiles.
Yes.
Everything's different.
Nobody's reporting cancer from Vandenberg.
Exactly. Well,
Right.
let's go check, make sure. Nope. No cancer there, so we can negate all of them.
So you're saying all these Chevy Trailblazers are failing with their gas tank? Well, let's check this Volkswagen Bug. Nope, we didn't find any problems there.
Didn't
That's
find
about
anything.
the same thing that they're doing.
So stupid.
The email posted to social media originally said that the dining facility would be closed for 2 weeks on April 9th. Be closed for 2 weeks. And that 650 Barksdale Essential Station messing airmen with meal deductions would receive BAS during the closure. So they're going to give them BAS so they can eat off base. This means the listed troops would receive $460 per month, and officers would get $316 per month. So they're like, yeah, we close it. Now, here's the question I had. Juan, when you were in 2002, I don't know when the barracks were built, but the mess hall was still available then, right?
So I lived in the dorms at Buckley for like 1 month, but I did live in the dorms at Peterson, and that chow hall was awesome. Like I didn't know
yeah.
any better. Yeah.
But were you
So,
you were up at Buckley, or were you up at Buckley? Yeah, you were up at Buckley when they came down. They're like, oh, we got to close the dining facility. Do you remember that?
So I remember that it was already closed when I got there.
Oh, it was.
I was in the dorms for 3 months. So like for me, I was like, oh, cool, I get $250 extra a month. That's all I cared about.
Well, when they first closed it, they gave them vouchers for meals. They didn't give them
really?
money. Yeah. Because they were like, oh, shit, what are we going to do with all these guys here? I give them vouchers. They can go eat at something.
And so just vouchers, like it was like Like an EBT card or what?
Yeah,
Like,
because
here's your
it was
issued
like it was.
EBT
I think
card.
it was like coupons for a few months until they kind of unasked themselves and like, we should probably do something better than this.
Wow.
Well, listen to this. The latest vermin crisis follows a year of reports on quality of life issues affecting junior service members, including a GAO, Government Accountability Office report, which found junior enlisted barracks and dorms did not meet Department of Defense health and safety standards due to mold, rats, and broken security systems.
Jeez.
Now, this is a killer. Service members in half of the GAO's discussion groups told the federal watchdog about, quote, issues with pests, including bedbugs, rodents, cockroaches, and wasps. At 3 out of 10 installations reviewed by GAO, officials said service members were in charge of their own pest control.
Look, so
Did you solve that? Yeah, put it on the guys. They got to go buy their own ortho and go spray their rooms.
remember
Jesus.
when base housing, you could go to like that housing facility and they would give you light bulbs and
Yeah.
pest control
Almost like
stuff
a
and all
self-help,
that,
right?
right?
Like a self-help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all that went away, right, when they privatized it.
Yep.
And that's why. And then, because
That's
Air
right.
Force used to be like, you
you
got
could-
good housing.
You could fix your
And you could-
cars. You could go to the auto shop. You could go to the self-help store. Hell, even Airman's Attic wasn't Airman's Attic. It was something much broader. But you could go get used furniture. I mean, you could kind of live for free if you were living on base.
You could.
That's a good point. I never even thought about it.
And now that it's all privatized now,
Yeah, forget it.
and they got rid of all those self-help areas,
Yeah.
you're consistently seeing on-base issues.
God, what a
You know?
simple life it used to be, right? You're like, what are you doing? What are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going over to the auto shop. I'm going to, change some transmission out. And then you want to meet at the bowling alley? Yeah, fuck yeah. That's a great day for about $15 total.
Well, and then
exactly
people will
it.
offer you, and it made the community tighter because then people
I
like,
agree. Yeah.
oh, you're swapping out the transmission. What if I meet you over there? Not if you need a hand.
Oh shit. Yeah. Come on, man. Because you could use all that stuff for free. I think it was for free, right? They had all the tools.
You
they had
rented
all
the
that stuff.
stall.
Oh yeah. There were some places
You
that
rented
did
the
that, right?
stall,
Yeah,
or you rented the one with the lift, and there was
the lift.
prices.
I knew you had to rent that anything pneumatic. But
then
basically,
with
it was
the stall, all the tools, everything like that,
Everything.
you just checked it out.
And then you go fast forward when all that stuff disappeared, and you got guys trying to do stuff out in the dorm parking lot. They're parked up on milk crates. You're like, that's not gonna hold, dude. Well, I
Or
gotta
they
ramp
can't
it up
afford-
somehow. Yeah.
They can't afford to take it off base, right?
Right. And
It's all in the effort of saving money in the long run, though. I think like that's as soon as government was like, well, we got to save money, we got to cut costs, we got to do this. It'll be cheaper if we go contractor.
Well, and then they're talking about the quality of life in the rest of that article, from what I read.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about the quality of life, like I really truly believe that it's gotten worse when we've gone privatized.
I agree.
I agree. Those resources.
Well, and look at let's before we get into that, look at the difference between, say, Buckley, which has been trying to build up to a real base, right? But they never really kind of got there.
No.
And Schriever, which they built
Yuck.
dorms out at Schriever. I was like, how the fuck are you going to get to live out here?
Right? Base housing.
They
have base housing,
right?
Yeah.
And then you look at what Peterson is. All right, Peterson's a fully established base that had all those amenities. You had a bowling alley, you had a golf course. And that was like an Army base that I was used to. Pete was. So you could, even if you lived on base, it was no big deal because it was big enough. It had all these different things that you could do. And you're like, I don't need to go off base. But Buckley is like, there's nothing to do, especially when they closed down the dining facility. And they were all proud of themselves because they're like, we need to cut this much out of the base budget oh, that's the dining facility. It just perfectly matches. And that's why they cut the dining facility, because of the BRAC defined.
So they try revamp that dining facility so many times and make it into a club, make it fun for the young folks. Panthers Den.
Right.
So the problem with it, though, like I remember 2001, 2002, the first sergeants would get together at Peterson. They'll bring kegs. They'll ID people.
Right.
They'll have a DJ.
Right.
And morale was fun. People would used to come off base to party on base.
Oh
right?
yeah,
And,
yeah.
people,
And you should have seen the military. Sorry, I mean you're not that. I'm not that much older. Maybe I am that much older. But prior to 9/11,
yeah,
especially when they had the club system, officer club, NCO club, and airman club, and at least as far as the Army was, every once a month on Friday they would have like right arm night, where like the commander would take his first sergeant or the platoon leader would take his platoon sergeant, and you both go have a beer together at the club system. And I thought that was one of the worst things that they ever did in the military, was when they disbanded it and just like, we'll just make one club.
Well, and not only that, they disbanded that. You take away the culture of those peer groups.
Yeah, that's right. And then you run into the asshole out of Vandenberg who's just happens to be an 04. And you're like, yeah, you're drunk like me. What are you doing in here? Why am I drinking with you?
And now it's like there's this stigma where like, okay, who's gonna see me drink? Because then I gotta show up on Monday.
Right.
So everybody feels like I'm being watched. So why would I even want to be on base?
Yeah.
Where one, you should probably feel the safest there. Two,
You're supposed to, yeah.
Yeah. Is there going to be cops out there waiting for me? I think I was telling you during my interview, one of the reasons I joined the Air Force because my supervisor at the time, Chuck, was telling me all these stories like, yeah, we'll go to the club, and then sometimes the cops will pick us up, they'll take us home. So
I never got took home, but
took care. Well,
I know what you mean.
The stories is so airmen took care of airmen, soldiers took care of soldiers, sailors took care of sailors, and now it's like, who's going to take care of me if something happens?
Well, who's taking care of the Guardians, Juan?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you were a Guardian. Did you have a crossover
I'm
with
a
Space
legacy.
Force or no?
We're all legacy Guardians.
I know. We got to get that pin, Jake. We got to get that goddamn pin. I'm going to look for it. I'm going to get it.
Original Guardians.
Legacy Guardians.
OGs.
OGs.
We're veterans of veterans.
And Juan, who you saw on there, Eric, he's a retired security forces.
Okay.
So he hates the shit out of space. And that's why I love him being on here, because he's every episode, he's like, this is so dumb.
You guys did this? Why did you do this?
So we make fun of him wrecking cars and bopping each other in the air raid show.
Do you call him by his proper moniker, though? Defender? They want to be called Defenders.
They want to be called Defenders. That's true. Yeah, they do love Defenders.
He was air control or something like that?
Air defense.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, so he was a defender.
He was a defender, yeah.
Of the air.
Speaking of that, what a segue, right? This story is a couple weeks old, but I ran across it and I was like, this is badass. We got to bring this guy up, right? Unfortunately, I couldn't find out how he did it. However, from Task and Purpose, soldier earns, quote, Ace of Syria nickname after drowning 6 drones. So that's cool, man, right? I mean, that will piss all the real pilots off, but F him, right? So he's the Ace of Syria. A 10th Mountain Division soldier earned the nickname Ace of Syria after shooting down 6 drones during attacks a forward operating base he was assigned to defend in the northeastern part of the country of Syria. Army Specialist Dylan Green. Oh, here, I'll show you. Army Specialist Dylan Green, an infantryman with the 10th Mountain Brigade's 2nd Brigade Combat Team, earned the Ace moniker after his 5th confirmed kill of a one-way drone, Jake, drone, according to an Army press release. Green, a forward area air defense and Nighthawk operator, said he had, quote, no idea what to expect when he got to Syria. He had attended an air defense course at Fort Drum, which included practice and real-world simulations with drone equipment. I really wish Eric would be on here because he could go on and on about his stinger time. right? But that's he's playing golf. So the Houston, Texas native was chosen by his unit leadership to attend Fort Drum's Air Defense Course despite his only 3 years in the Army and no deployments. I don't know if that's a qualification to go to Fort Drum's Air Defense Course, but probably they had like a couple Air Force slots and they're like, hey, Green, we're going to send you to with the Army. And he's like, okay, good. Green was assigned to the Combined Special Operations Joint Task Force Levant, according to the Army. He was awarded an Army Achievement Medal with combat device in December by Commander of U.S. Central Command, General Michael Kurilla. That's the CENTCOM commander, right? Very cool. Very cool. Soldiers like Green assigned to posts in Syria have found themselves on the cutting edge of anti-drone fights since last October. A drone strike that month resulted in close to 20 cases of TBI among Americans at Al-Assad Air Base in Iraq and a base on the Jordan-Syria border known as Tower 22. Another Iraq attack at Al-Harir Air Base in Erbil left a pilot with the 82nd Airborne critically injured with catastrophic injuries. So I searched and I searched. They wouldn't say how he shot him down. Because I was like, what?
Around the article too.
Yeah, was it a stinger? And I went to DVids. I went to some other sites, and I was like, how did he shoot him down? Stingers, coyote munitions. What was it? And they wouldn't say. So good on the OPSEC, right? I'm glad they didn't reveal that. And they're like, we're going to look for that guy with stingers. He's an ace. We got to take him out with one-way drones. So good on Specialist Green. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is pretty neat. Honestly, that's pretty cool.
It's funny that they gave him I don't know why it strikes me as funny. But they gave him an achievement medal.
I thought he would get more than
I know. It's like I didn't know
he's
you
in
could
the Army.
I didn't know you could have achievement.
Air Force cans that stuff out like candy.
Oh, Air Force, he would have been an MSM.
Army. They're like, fine,
Yeah,
you
that's
can have
true.
the lowest of the medals.
That's true.
But
You
he
did
got
your job
he
well
got-
6 times.
He got the combat designator on there.
He did. I know. That's cool.
That is impressive.
And that'll be points for his promotion, so that'll be great for him,
Yeah.
But yeah, if he was in a Space Command, that would have been a MSM Soldier or Airman or Guardian of the Year, Community Service of the Year. He would have been propped up all over,
Saved countless lives.
single-handedly.
Countless. I mean, he did save a lot of lives.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
But
I just wish they would have said how he did it, but I guess it's good that they didn't. I mean, that's cool. I mean, like we talked about it last week, Jake, about how many of those damn things they shot down.
there's
Crazy
so many
amount,
coming
man.
at him.
And it's either Iran wasn't that good at it, or they're really easy to shoot down, or both, or I don't know.
Might be good.
Here's another skit for you.
Clearly, there's one of us that's good.
Right. Here's another skit we should have wrote. Do you remember those old they came in like one package and you had to pull them out and they had like the little balsa wings and you put them in the plastic and then you had the propeller with the rubber band?
Oh yes.
That's Iran's drones, man. That would have been
Maybe.
that one the wind got it. Shit. That one went on the roof. Damn it.
Which was the
Then it
ones with
cracks right off the
like
bat.
the zip tie, almost the ones where you pull the zip tie and then they fly out.
Those were more advanced. Those were expensive.
Oh, that's
when I was
classic.
a kid,
Those are
but
the
they
real
were-
ones.
Those were badass. And you had the little like wrist rocket launcher. Yeah, those are great, man. Hot shots or something like that. So let's see. Oh, I read that already. So good on Specialist Green for shooting all that stuff down and meeting the CENTCOM commander. That's an E4 meeting. Was it 3-star? Like 4-star?
No, I see 4.
3.
I think it's
It's
4.
it's a
Four?
COCOM.
That looks
It's
like
a
4,
4-star.
man.
Yep.
So
Oh my.
yeah, good man. So okay. So
Army General.
we don't have Eric here, and I'm sure he would have liked it. And I wish he would have looked at the stories that I sent him, because today's date in U.S. military history, April 22nd, 2004, from a guy who was in Arizona to our host who was in Arizona. God, it would have been perfect, right? April 22nd, 2004, day in history. 20 years ago, Pat Tillman was killed at age 27 by friendly fire in a firefight in Spira, Afghanistan, as part of the U.S. Army 2nd Ranger Battalion. Tillman's story in the military cover-up that followed over the circumstances of his death became national news. So, what do you think? What did that? I mean, do you remember that?
I remember that. I remember being in, and I'll tell you, I remember when he enlisted. And for us, it's like, man, he's living his dream. He's a football player. He played for ASU, got drafted by Arizona, the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And we're like, man, he's just giving that up. But then that tells you the dedication, because the events of September 11th and everything to follow on after that is what pushed him to go enlist. And
he was a poster child. Yeah, he was absolutely.
Yeah, what I didn't know was him and his brother enlisted.
His brother was a semi-pro baseball player, AAA like baseball player. So so I kind of combined these two articles. One is from shit, I didn't put it down. I think it's military.com, and the other one's from history. So I kind of combined these together. But Tillman and his younger brother Kevin enlisted after enlisted after witnessing the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. Pat Tillman walked away from a $3.6 million contract as a safety for the Arizona Cardinals after starring at Arizona State. Tillman became a standout safety playing from 98 through 2001. His decision to enlist in the Army and join the Rangers elite fighting force along with his brother Kevin after the 9/11 attack surprised friends and family, although they weren't shocked. Tillman alerted his inner circle before news broke and urged them to keep their feelings private. He gave no interviews and recoiled at the thought of personal hyperbole, resisting efforts to be used as a recruiting tool. They used him as a recruiting tool anyway.
Yeah.
Inadvertently. They're like, oh, look at this NFL player giving up his thing to go in. But, Jake, when you stepped away, I asked Juan if you remember the story. Do you? What I should have asked is,
when he went in.
Do you remember when you first heard about? Oh, it was friendly fire that killed him. That was hard to digest, wasn't it? That was like, no. And then they went into it, and I was like, I can see how that happened, because it was all, was it at night, or I can't remember how it was, but all the fog of war. But then it was like that was years, right? There was several years.
Oh, it wasn't quick.
They
kept that secret for a good while.
Yeah. And it was just like, I mean, because they used him because I remember he was, not that they put his picture up and they're like, oh, look what this guy did. But it was very well known that this NFL player gave up his career to go in.
Oh, and then, like when people ask, well, you serve for God and country, right? Depending on how you feel. But like, it's like the push of like the biggest sacrifice that he did. And that was the campaigning that they did behind him.
Yeah.
Was, hey, the sacrifices, it's a volunteer force or volunteer army, whatever, right? But that's what they were getting behind. It's like, hey, look at the sacrifices people make for our freedom, and look at the sacrifice that he did with the money.
Yeah,
his
gave
career,
up the money.
Family.
He went to Ranger school.
Yep.
God damn, this guy's
and
this guy is.
And he had and from what I hear, he had a degree, so he could have.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the story, what I heard is that he wanted to be out there.
I heard that too, and they just joined because that was the quickest way in.
Yep.
That was the quickest way they could get in. The Tillman brothers were assigned to the 75th Ranger Regiment in Fort Lewis, Washington, and did tours in Iraq in 2003, followed by Afghanistan the next year. So they already did a tour, came back, and then did another one. On April 22nd, 2004, Pat Tillman was killed by gunfire while on patrol in a rugged area of eastern Afghanistan. The Army initially maintained that Tillman and his unit were ambushed by enemy forces. I remember hearing that.
Yep.
I remember that story. Tillman was praised as a national hero, awarded the Silver Star and Purple Heart medals, and posthumously promoted to corporal. I remember all that too. And everybody's like, God damn, we all got to join. Let's get over there. Weeks later, Tillman's family learned his death had been accidental. His parents publicly criticized the Army, saying they had been intentionally deceived by military officials who wanted to use their son as a patriotic poster boy. 100%. They were 100% right. They believed their son's death was initially covered up by military officials because it could have undermined support for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
everyone knows we shouldn't have gone into Iraq. I mean, that was ridiculous.
But can you imagine the public outcry of that then? Or
Yeah.
people would have seriously started asking questions of why are we here? What are we doing? Why are we killing our own?
Yeah. And you read enough reports now of soldiers, leaders who have come back, and they're like, we had, there was no cohesive strategic picture of what we were supposed to do out there for 20 years, and that's how they were so frustrated, because they're like, why are we doing this? Why are we taking shots out on this outpost? Because nothing. So I'm sure Eric would disagree with it, but he's a toe-the-line guy. A criminal investigation was eventually launched into the case, and in 2007, the Army censured retired three-star General Philip Kensinger, who was in charge of special operations at the time of Tillman's death, for lying to investigators and making other mistakes. They didn't go into what other mistakes were. Memorandums of concern were also sent to several brigade. That's round file stuff anyway. That's nothing. Memorandums of concern were also sent to several brigadier generals and lower-ranking officers who the Army believed acted improperly in the case. You know what the disturbing part about that whole thing is that I wonder. Obviously, it was high up, and they're like, we're not going to say that he was killed by friendly fire, right, Commander? And the commander's like, you're right. I'm not going to say he was killed by friendly fire. I mean, they're so coerced into that because their careers are on the line. So. Yeah, memorandums of concern is nothing as slap on the wrist when they're like, oh yeah, we got everybody down to captain level. And I'm like, you forced us to say this, you son of a bitch. Yeah. On the good news, his legacy lives on in the Pat Tillman Foundation, which has sent 871 Tillman scholars to graduate school.
To the Army. No. Congrats.
Tillman scholars to eat at Barksdale DFAC.
Yep.
But the Tillman Foundation sends these guys to graduate school, 871 of them at a cost of more than $34 million. The scholarship is open to military service members, veterans, and spouses, and is funded in part by the annual Pat's Run in Tempe, Arizona, which drew more than 28,000 participants on April 13th. Yeah, it's too bad we didn't reach out to Mike Johns. Maybe he did that.
Yeah, he loves to run.
The only one who loved to run was Skarsgård. He was the only one who loved to run. And now you don't have to, right? You don't have to anymore. So
he's still running. I think secretly he just wants an excuse to wear those short shorts.
Oh, he was a 70s nylon short wearer kind of guy.
Those little silkies.
Oh yeah. I never heard of. I mean, that was the Army's PT uniform for half of the 90s, right? Well, no, for the early part of the 90s, because I used to try to wear before they had the tights. I had some wrestler singlets that I cut up, so my thighs wouldn't rub together, because I'm too short and too thick-legged to run in those nylon shorts without rash central, right? You know. Yeah, right. Even though they're like they're so light, they shouldn't bother you at all. And I'm like, my thighs rub together all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So
At Vandenberg, you couldn't run during certain fire seasons. Like, oh, it's a red flag warning. All you thick thighs, don't be friction firing anymore. Get a running waiver just for that.
that's also why I blew the seams out of most of my flight suits, because it was like, oh, these things are reaching 150 degrees temperature every day. You know, they're fire retardant, but they can't withstand that kind of heat.
Right. That, and then not only that, but you can start getting that vinegar smell. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a little bit too hot down there.
You're disgusting. You're terrible. I didn't go down to the data chase that often, so. We end up. It's a very awkward episode, but I loved it.
Though, yeah, that was a good one.
On behalf of all of us here, I'd like to thank you for listening today. Please like, share, and subscribe, and let us know how we did in the comments, and make sure next week that you are not late for changeover. Gentlemen, well, Juan, thanks for coming on behalf of Senior
Juan,
Master Sergeant retired Juan Lopez. Got it.
Oh no, that's
so well.
That's, I think I use like Juan Lopez.
Yeah,
Air Force retired.
that's nice.
But thank you.
No, that doesn't work. Tough shit. You're going to be Senior Master Sergeant retired, unless you get in the closet and it's just Jake. Because I said Senior Master Sergeant is a long fucking rank. That's a long.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I mean that's the same rank all of us had.
Right. Except for Aaron.
Man.
And Teapot.
Wow,
He's
Teapot.
lucky to retire.
I love that man. He earned more ranks than I ever thought. I
That's
could
true.
get.
I mean, you talk about
you-
2 steps forward, 1 step back. That was Teapot.
His going away flag from OGB said STS. Staff text staff.
Nice. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. I'll splice it.
Perfect.